We are back for another edition of SJHL Weekly. Thank you so much for joining us across the SJHL social media platforms. My name is Jeromy Corrigan. We have a full show planned for you. It's going to be a jam-packed edition of SJHL Weekly, but of course, this show would not be possible without our great sponsors: Chevrolet, Capital Auto Mall, Great Western, Cantera Seeds, RBC, SaskTel, Direct West, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Tourism Saskatchewan, and Young's Equipment. On today's show, of course, we're going to break down another busy weekend in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, but we're also going to be joined by one of the newest commits in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, a Direct West commitment, and that being Jaeden Mercier of the Flin Flon Bombers, who has committed to Lindenwood University. So a very busy episode, but also a very fun and exciting episode as we bring in, of course, one of my great co-hosts, Jamie Neugebauer. Jamie, how are we doing today?
Doing great. Happy that myself and the Notre Dame Hounds team bus got back home safely, because it was pretty hairy yesterday. But yeah, doing great. Thanks.
And as you can see as our set, we are one person short once again. And that, Jamie kind of alluded to it. The weather in Saskatchewan right now, I don't know, it's a little
typical.
Yeah, a little typical for this time of year. The roads aren't the greatest right now. And as a result, our other co-host, Rory Mcgouran, is at his apartment in the beautiful community of Humboldt. Rory, how are we doing today?
Doing great. Mother Nature, once again, takes me back and keeps that seat beside Nugsy cold. But it's not going to cool down the hockey talk that we got in store. There's a lot to go over. And I just want to say congratulations out to Jaeden Mercier and Jacob Vockler. SJHL now has 4 NCAA Division I commits, and it's not even in November. I love it.
You have to love it. Yes, of course. Jacob Vockler, also a Direct West commitment, and hopefully we have him on the show sooner rather than later as well. But like Rory mentioned, it was another busy weekend in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, so let's get right to it. Friday night, there was 5 games in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, and we saw the Flin Flon Bombers with a 2-0 victory over the Notre Dame Hounds. A big win by Melville over Weyburn, 6-1. Battlefords continues to roll, 5-2 win over Yorkton. Kindersley with the come-from-behind win over the Humboldt Broncos, 5-3. And then the Melville Mustangs shutting out the Notre Bruins, 3-0. Now on Saturday, another slate of games, 5 on the schedule. Weyburn bouncing back in the second half of that home and home, 7-5 winners over Melville. Humboldt also bouncing back, 5-4 over Nipperwin. Kindersley sweeps the weekend, 5-2 over Yorkton. Larange with a 3-2 overtime win over the Notre Dame Hounds as Notre Dame wrapped up 3-3. And Melfort completing the weekend sweep of the Notre Bruins, 3-2 at the Northern Lights Palace. Let's start, Rory, with the Humboldt Broncos. Obviously, I think a disappointing loss on Friday with a 3-1 lead going into the third period, but then bouncing back nicely on Saturday over the Nipawin Hawks. What did you see from those 2 games for the Broncos?
Yeah, I mean, the Humboldt Broncos took on the Kindersley Clippers, and that's actually the team that I kind of want to focus on this weekend, because 2 huge wins knocking off the Humboldt Broncos on a 4-goal third period effort from Kindersley. Then they did the exact same thing to the Yorkton Terriers. 4 more goals in a 5-2 win at home. Cody Jamin was the man, faced 91 shots over the weekend and won both games for the Kindersley Clippers. On the other side for the Humboldt Broncos, yeah, it shows the parity in the league once again. It shows you can't take a night off. Kindersley, outplayed them throughout, I would say, half the game. First half of the second period and definitely in the third period, outplayed the Humboldt Broncos. And they kind of survived a weekend scare, because they went into the third period against Nipawin losing 4-2 and somehow came back in that game to win 5-4. But the Humboldt Broncos, grateful to pick up 2 points against the Nipawin Hawks. They're now 3-0, though, when they enter the third period trailing. So the Humboldt Broncos, they can win in different ways. And once again, they're down by 2 going into the third period, and they find a way and come out on top.
Yeah, and obviously you kind of mentioned it. The Kindersley Clippers haven't had a great start to this season, but I think the big thing that the 3 of us have definitely talked about, and maybe Jamie, you can elaborate on this, but the Kindersley Clippers have been in almost every hockey game this year, and they've been right there with all the teams that they've been playing.
They've been right there at the same time. Ken Placken just keeps looking to add a little piece here, a little piece there. We see them add Joel Webb from Battlefords just recently, Logan Cox from Melfort. He's jumped in and made an instant impact for the Kindersley Clippers. They brought in Falk during the showcase to play net there, Cody Jamin. I mean, they had completely different goaltenders in the preseason.
Right.
So, Ken Placken, kudos to him and his staff for saying, hey, if you're don't want to be here, if you're not, good enough, if you're not up to our standard, the community here in Kindersley deserves a good product, and they're going to find people elsewhere. And I think, you add a better sort of base, and that raises the level of guys like Matthew Mazzochi, who they're relying on, Tylen Hilbig, the Poplowski twins, Spencer Poplowski finally, broke out. Everybody can see his skill. It just wasn't going in the back of the net. He got a couple there against Humboldt, I believe. So, kudos to the Clippers, where being sort of mediocre in their minds wasn't enough. They wanted to get better. They wanted to bring in some pieces and help out, and those guys have done that. Kudos to them.
And now quietly, the Kindersley Clippers have won 3 out of 4 games. Now, Jamie, let's go to the Notre Dame Hounds. They had a busy week, 3 games in 3 nights, picking out 3 out of a possible 6 points. What did you see from the Hounds this weekend? And I guess overall, how was the road trip for them?
Yeah, I was very impressed. I think, so there were three issues that the Hounds kind of had early. One was goaltending. Tucker and Abonnet, Ashton Bilsberger, and the new gentleman they brought in looks great too in practice, Tremblay Cow. Those 3 guys were fantastic over the weekend. So, goaltending seems to be check marked there. Then, the second thing was details. I think they've cleaned up a lot. Guys like Connor O'Keefe have come in and done a great job. Luke Helgeson keeps getting better on the blue line. The list goes on. So those details. And then the third thing is goal scoring, and they're still struggling to put the puck in the back of the net at different times. The last 7 periods, Flin Flon and Larange, if you include the overtime against Larange, only one of those periods that the Hounds find a way to score a goal. Now, that all being said, they ran into the 2 hottest goalies maybe in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Harmon Laser-Hume up in Flin Flon is the real deal, and that was a good old-fashioned goalies duel there in Flin Flon between Laser-Hume and Tucker and Abonnet. And then the next night, Dawson Smith and Ashton Bilsberger gave each other a great duel too. So Dawson Smith is as good as they come. So, it could have gone, both of those games could have gone either way. It was great hockey up there. I love going up to the Northeast there, and, love those communities. It was a blast. We had fun, and thank goodness we survived the bus ride home.
Yes.
So, 3 points out of 6 could have been more, but you take it, you move on, you take the positives.
Yeah, I think 3 out of 6, you can get half the points that you can out of a 3-game and 3-night road trip. I think the coaching staff must be, relatively happy, I think, with the way that they played and the amount of points that they got from the road trip. Rory, I want to ask you, I know you touched on them last week, but I'll ask you again. The Larange Ice Wolves knocked off the Notre Dame Hounds 3-2 in overtime. They are starting Saturday night, I should say, kicked off 10 games out of 11 at home. How big is this stretch for the Ice Wolves in their, I guess, in their quest to try and catch the Flin Flon Bombers in that Sherwood division?
I think it's pretty big when you look at 9 out of their next 10 games are at the Mel Hagland Arena. There's going to be some home cooking for for Kevin Kaminski and the Larange Ice Wolves. Jamie, you were just there. It's not an easy building to play in. It's tight. They're on you in an instant. The boards are really wiry behind the netminder as well. So Larange knows how to play in that building to their advantage. And I think this is a huge stretch. 9 games at home in the next 10, all the way until, I believe, November 19th. They're pretty much staying in Larange.
And another team that's been staying at home as of late has been the Battle for North Stars. Obviously, we've said so much about Battleford so far this year. They're 13-0-1 on the season. Their only blemish is a shootout loss to the Melfort Mustangs. It was announced today, once again, they are the top team in the SJHL top 20 rankings, joined by the Humboldt Broncos at 9th and an honorable mention by the Flin Flon Bombers. But this weekend, Jamie, another solid performance by Battleford in 2 games against Yorkton.
Yeah, you know what? I said last week looking forward to this matchup. Matt Hare knows how to game plan against the Battlefords North Stars, and I'm sure he does, but I don't know what a lot of teams in this league can do against that team, especially in that rink. I mean, the Holden Dole, Kean Bell, and Jake Southgate line. Is there a better line in the SJHL right now, Jeremy? I would argue not. And they had 12 points over those 2 games combined, and Holden Dole is a problem. 9 points in 3 games for him. So, again, we've talked about their depth, and it starts with that line. It goes all the way down, and, they just keep putting pucks in the back of the net. I don't know. It's kind of like a landslide. I think a lot of people have been up at the rink there up in North Battlefords, and it's felt like all of a sudden the walls are caving in on you because they're relentless. So, a couple big wins for the Stars, and they just keep on trucking, still have not lost. In regulation, of course. Yeah, and the thing is, too, with the way that they're playing and obviously this lengthy stretch at home, they're getting great crowds as well, and that is a very difficult building to play in. Rory, when it comes to the team that they beat twice, the Yorkton Terriers, the Terriers have lost 4 in a row. They're struggling a little bit when it comes to putting the puck in the back of the net, and now they've dropped down to 2 games below 500. Any concern about the Terriers in the last couple of weeks?
I think there is one kind of glaring concern, and I just want to piggyback on Jamie's talk first, though, about that top line for the Battlefords North Stars. 31 combined points in the last 5 games for that top line of Southgate, Dole, and Bell. So they're firing on all cylinders, and I would agree with Nugsy. It's the best line in the SJHL probably right now. As for the Yorkton Terriers, you're right. They've lost 4 in a row. But the one glaring kind of area of concern is their third periods, because they're outscoring their opponents in the first and the second period, and then they're getting outscored 26-10 in the third period. So they're kind of just, the wheels are falling off after 40 minutes. And I think that's what they're going to have to address. I don't say that there's reason to panic, but they're playing good. They're doing their, clogging the middle of the ice throughout the first 2, and then something happens in the third where, teams are just taking advantage. So that's what I would be concerned about right now for the Terriers.
And a prime example of that would be on Friday. They were down by 1 going into the third period, only 4-3 for Battleford. And then Battleford explodes for 5 goals in that third period. So obviously that'll be something that they'll want to address.
Kindersley did it as well on Saturday. 4 goals in the third period for the Clippers too. So yeah, third period's an area of concern right now.
And I think to continue that point though about Yorkton, there are a lot of young guys that we like. We'll talk about Dylan Ruptash a bit later, I think. But the thing about young players, especially when you're relying on them to put the puck in the back of the net, is it'll come in fits and spurts. Like the consistency piece is something that is so hard for young players to grasp in this league, and they rely on a really young group of forwards to put the puck in the net, and that's not really happening right now for Yorkton. I'm sure it'll turn around, but 2 goals a game the last little while on average is tough. It's tough to win when you're only scoring 2 goals in a hockey game, and that's what we're seeing with Yorkton right now.
For sure. Now let's stick to the Viterra division. It was a big weekend for Melville and Weyburn. Those 2 teams playing a home and home against one another. I'll get both of your guys' thoughts on this home and home. Obviously, the first game was so one-sided for Melville at home, winning 6-1. And then I would argue the game of the weekend on Saturday, a 7-5 win for the Weyburn Red Wings. And talk about an up-and-down game, because we saw Weyburn had a 3-0 lead, a 5-goal second period by the Melville Millionaires to take the lead, and then 2 late goals by Weyburn helped secure the win. I guess, Rory, did this matchup between these 2 teams kind of surprise you? Or do you think that, with this Viterra division, it's going to kind of be like this all season where you're going to see results like this?
I didn't surprise me the second one for sure. I think these 2 teams are pretty evenly matched, and when you get a divisional rival games on the weekend back and forth, so I think it was definitely the most entertaining game of the weekend. You mentioned it. Weyburn leads 3-0. Melville with 5 goals leads 5-3. Weyburn comes back in the third. Nick Nielsen, their play-by-play guy, lost his hat on that call, and it was obviously very exciting for him and for the Weyburn Red Wings to pick up that win, because if you look at the standings right now, Kindersley gets 4 big points, so they have 10. You have everyone from 7 to 12 within 2 points of each other. So these games are huge, man. We're going to look back come April, and you're going to take a peek at this comeback effort for the Kindersley Clippers, or the Weyburn Red Wings not letting the 5 goals from Melville dispel them, right? And they pick up 2 points. So Didn't surprise me with the way the game was competitive, but these are the games you're going to look back at in April.
Well, actually, Rory, between 7 and 11, there's a total of 0 points.
That's right.
That's right.
They're all on 12 points. Was that 5 teams?
5 teams are at 12 points.
12 points all at once between 7 and 11. That is just nuts.
And to add to that,
Well,
obviously,
it's crazy.
It's nuts.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jay. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the big thing to mention, though, with obviously the 5 teams with 12 points, each team's played a different amount of games as well, which plays definitely a factor in it. But also to add to it, from 5 to 12 is only separated by 6 points. It's nuts right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's 2 spots up for grabs right now between 6 teams, which, I mean, if you like exciting parity hockey, you're getting it right now. So, tune into the radio, get your hockey TV subscription, buy your tickets, go to the game, because you're getting it. And we're 20% into the season, and you're already looking at that playoff line.
See, I always like when other people plug the things we have to plug. It's awesome. Thanks, Rory. I appreciate it.
Gotcha, pal.
Obviously, you know what? We talked about it. It was an exciting weekend for both the Weyburn Red Wings and the Melville Millionaires. And from one of those games is where we will find our Tourism Saskatchewan Play of the Week. Have a look.
The blue line trying to get this one out, and they do. And the first guy, therefore, it's going to be Tallman, it looks like, if he can get away from Ball. Tallman down the right side. Ball falls. Tallman in front. Scores! What a great goal from Mequan Tallman. Unassisted, that one will come on the penalty kill. And after giving up 2 shorthanded goals last game, Mequan Tallman gets one of his own on an absolute.
Now, Nequan Tallman, outstanding goal. Unfortunately, his team lost that game 6-1. But, for the Weyburn Red Wings, they've kind of been getting contributions all season long from different players, it seems like, each and every game.
Yeah, I know. And, that's the way that Cody Mapes has built this team.
Right.
I think they come at you again with a lot of depth in terms of, effort and consistency all through their lineup. Like, when teams are going well, they have a good room. They really reflect their captain. Matthew Reddy is, as intense of a competitor as there is in this league. He's the captain of the Weyburn Red Wings, and that's how Cody Mapes built it. People that remember the heyday of the Weyburn Red Wings, or earlier in the millennium, years back there, even in the early 2010s, they were intense. They were good. They were also played their hearts out for that Weyburn community. And Cody Mapes, is trying to get those guys on that same path. And big time respect to the Weyburn Red Wings to win that hockey game, the second game, because they were up 3-0. They blew it.
Yeah.
And a lot of young teams would say, oh, woe is me. This is a tough night, just sad for us. But no, they stuck in there. They kept going. And Lucas Jeffries, with the game-winning goal, the call that Rory was talking about there, Jeffries with the goal back door in the third period was just Nick Nielsen going nuts. And Nick is a great broadcaster in this league. We all love and appreciate him. And big time kudos, especially again after losing the previous game 6-1. It's going to be like that, as Rory said, throughout the battles here near the last kind of couple playoff spots in the league.
And Weyburn got the tying goal in that game with 5:54 left, and they scored the game winner with about a minute and a half left. So, like you mentioned, a young team finding a way to win, and it would have been easy for them to fold, but they found a way to bounce back and get in the win column. Now, one set of games that we haven't talked about yet, so that we'll wrap up this kind of segment with, is the Estevan Bruins and the Melfort Mustangs. And I think this weekend was definitely an important one for the Melfort Mustangs, who, we talked about it last week. They knocked off the Battlefords North Stars on the Friday, and then they lost to the Kindersley Clippers the other night. It's been a very inconsistent start to the year for the Melfort Mustangs, Rory, but for them to win 2 tight games at home against the Estevan Bruins, who have been playing pretty well, obviously the last couple of weeks, what's that going to do for them moving forward?
Well, I mean, they were in 10th place 2 weeks ago. Last time I was in studio with you guys, and we were saying, Melfort isn't a little bit of a stretch right here where they're going to have to find a way to get out of it. And all of a sudden, 5 more games throughout 2 weeks, and they're right up into 5th place. So they have a league best penalty kill. So that's what you expect from the Melfort Mustangs, 88.7%. And Estevan in those 2 games had 19 shots in the first game and 23 shots in the second game. If that's not prototypical Melfort Mustang style hockey, I don't know what is. I know you said, Jeremy, you were at the game and you're like, it was kind of a boring game. And I'm like, yeah, that puts a smile right on Trevor Blevins' face. That's exactly how the Melfort Mustangs want to play. And 2 big wins against the Bruins. The only thing for Estevan that I have, and I'll ask it and then lead it to Jamie there, is are you worried at all about the minutes for Herjlicka? Because he has about 200 more minutes than the second goalie in the SJHL. He's getting a huge workload, and it's only October right now.
Worried? I don't know about worried. I'm not surprised, though, because Jason Tatarnic does love to ride a goalie. Right. And you know what? Jackson Miller did play in that second game and didn't do too badly. And he's a young goaltender. It's so hard to judge a goalie stepping right into the SJHL. You know, it's a big jump. We've seen that all over the league. So, kudos to Jackson Miller for playing pretty well that second game, even though it wasn't a win. But yeah, not concerned. But you talk about the Melfort Mustangs, and we've always talked about them for the last number of years, Rory and Jeromy too, is there's such a system team. And what I saw when I saw the Mustangs a couple of weeks ago, I should say, was a team that didn't look like they were buying into what their coach necessarily was preaching. And I think what we saw against the Estevan Bruins is that they can do what Trevor Blevins wants. And they were a little bit over aggressive. They were chasing pucks, getting out of position before. Now they're back to what they're supposed to be. And the last thing I'll say is Trevor Blevins, again, similar to Ken Plaquin, what I said about earlier, if you're not good enough, if you're not up to Melfort Mustangs, snuff, then see you later, my way or the highway, and I'll may bring somebody else in. And Ryan Duguay, coming in from the Alberta Junior League, seems like he's hit the ground running, right? 5 points in those 2 games for the big power forward from the Alberta Junior League. So, he kind of fits in what Trevor Blevins wants, a heavy guy, guys who plays fast. But, it seems like the Melfort Mustangs, if they can take what they showed then it's what we expected. They'll be hard for anybody to beat.
Yeah, 2 wins by the Melfort Mustangs this weekend gets them back to the 500 mark. Meanwhile, the Estevan Bruins, with their 2 losses, they drop below 500, but they still lead that Viterra division. But they'll be looking to snap a 3-game losing skid later this week when they take on the Battleford North Stars tomorrow night in Battleford. Now, after the break, we will be joined by the latest commits for Lindenwood University, that being Flin Flon Bombers forward Jaeden Mercier, the latest Direct West commitment. Jaden will join us here on SJHL Weekly right after the break. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
Capital Auto Mall is a proud partner of the SJHL, supporting the rich traditions and proud future of junior hockey in Saskatchewan. Capital Auto Mall, on the corner of Rochdale and Pasqua in Regina.
Saskatchewan, you know SaskTel, because we're everywhere. Because being everywhere keeps us connected to you. You are what matters most. With SaskTel sponsorships, we get to be a part of your community. From the dance competitions, to the rodeos, to helping discover and embrace technology across the province, we're here with you, and we're here for you. It's easy to get started. All you need to do is apply. Every year, SaskTel contributes nearly $3 million to approximately 1,000 nonprofits, charities, associations, and events in more than 200 communities across Saskatchewan. So keep dancing, keep laughing, keep discovering, and we'll be there to help, to lend a hand, and join in the fun. SaskTel cares. Always has, always will, because we are dedicated to our home. To apply for sponsorship, visit sastel.com/sponsorships.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year.
For victims of domestic abuse, fleeing may mean leaving everything behind. There is hope. SaskTel provides brand new cell phones so that starting over is possible. Learn more at sastel.com/fresh start.
Boost your efficiency and your bottom line with Young's equipment and Case IH tractors, including the cutting-edge Puma 150 CVX and the Maxim 145 with best-in-class efficiency. Check out the Case IH lineup today at Young's Equipment.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly. Thank you so much for joining us across our SJHL social media platforms. My name is Jeromy Corrigan, joined as always by Jamie Neugebauer and Rory Mcgouran via video chat. And we are now excited to be joined by the latest Lindenwood University commit, a direct West commitment, that being Jaeden Mercier of the Flin Flon Bombers. Jaeden, how are we doing today?
Doing good. How are you guys?
We're doing great. We get to talk hockey with you, so we're excited. Jaeden, I guess first and foremost, congratulations on the commitment to Lindenwood, but I guess tell us a little bit about how this kind of came about for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, we started talking. I think it was the first time they reached out to me was after the showcase. I think I knew that they had been watching me for a little bit, and yeah, they reached out. I think it was maybe the first or second phone call was when they offered. So got into my research and started looking into the program. Thought it would be a good fit for me. So about it. Took them up on the deal, and that's all.
Perfect.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, congratulations, Jaeden. You know, I got to ask you, too, the value or the importance, I should say, of the familiarity that you'll have with one guy that's down there, I guess, and Drew Kuzma. You know, how much, what's the word, recruiting, I guess we'll say, did Drew do to say, hey, I come down to Lindenwood, or how much was he involved? Of course, for those that don't know, Drew Kuzma, part of the Centennial Cup team there with Jaeden last year.
Yeah, no, good buddy Drew. We kept in touch. It was more so after the fact. I told him that, yeah, I've been talking to Lindenwood, and he showed me around campus a little bit and showed me his dorm room, whole setup, gave me a little bit of the insight on the underworld down there, so to say. Sounded like a great place. He loves it there, so thought it'd be a good fit for me as well. Excited to meet back up with him out there. So,
Jaeden, yeah, congratulations. There's a wealth of SJHL talent down there in Lindenwood for sure. But I want to talk about kind of your game throughout your tenure with the Flin Flon Bombers. Started in 2019-20, 16 points there in 44 games. And then you could see the development just progressing. Of course, COVID took away, one of the most integral seasons, but it didn't hamper you. Over a point per game your next season, and then this year on a pace for, 1.3 points per game. What has Mike Reagan and Cole McKegg and kind of that Flin Flon Bombers culture helped you grow your hockey, and now at the end goal, getting that NCAA Division I commitment?
Yeah, no, they've been huge in my development. I think a big piece of it has been my 200-foot game, just developing more of a well-rounded game. And I think one of the biggest changes that I've seen in my game throughout my years here in Flin Flon is just the maturity. I think I've matured a lot as a player, not only on the ice, but off the ice as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's been something we've been seeing. I think you've gotten some penalty kill time even here, and I know Mike Reagan doesn't throw that kind of thing out too much. Every time I talk to Mike about you and about all the guys that were involved with the Centennial Cup last year, he said, that's 5 games plus the finals, 7 games plus all those games in the playoffs that helped you guys develop and learn and grow, even that more, maybe even more than another guy in the league that's your age but hasn't played, the same number of games. So I got to ask you, what did you learn specifically, by that 7-game finals and by that experience of the Centennial Cup, which I should add, over a point per game for you at the Centennial, so it didn't seem like, I guess, it was too much of a trouble for you. But what did you learn over that time?
What did I learn? Just the speed that it takes to play at that top level. Depth, so many important things. Leadership. We had a great group of leaders last year, so just having that experience under my belt, learning from those guys, helped me out this year, and I'm sure I learned more than that. That's all I can think.
Maybe you learned that the life isn't fair because the Pickering Panthers goal that sorry for sad memories that eliminated you guys in overtime was 100% a high stick. Shouldn't have been a goal. You bet you agree, right, Jaden?
100%.
Yeah, high stick. Shouldn't have been a goal.
Hey, Jaden, when you look back at that team and then take a look at the team you guys have right now, how would you compare the two? What would you say are some of the differences that you can see this team bring to the table? I mean, we all know that you lost Cal Shell, but Harmon Laser-Hume seems to be one of the top goaltenders in the league. No more Cole Vardy and Xavier Lapointe, but you got Alex Von Sprecken and Reese Richmond, another year of development. So it doesn't seem like you guys have lost a beat, but how would you compare the two teams?
Definitely got our similarities. I think we got another strong defensive team, like you said. Laser's been a huge part of that so far this year. Goaltending has not been an issue for us whatsoever, and I think last year we had our identity was our character. I think we're still working on finding that a little bit more here this year, but I think we're off to a pretty good start. There's a couple of games that we'd like to have back, and still got some growing to do as a team, but I think we're in a good place to start the year.
For you guys, obviously, you guys are off to a great start, like you mentioned, this year. But when you guys are playing, Flin Flon Bombers hockey, how are you wanting to play this year?
Fast, physical game. That's something that we're always preaching, not only in games but in practice. Practice how you play, you win in practice. So playing fast and physical is two big things for us.
Jaden, I got one more for you here, and it does go back to last year because I haven't had a chance to talk to you since me and Nugsy called the SJHL finals with two amazing atmospheres. Just what was it like playing in the Whitney Forum during the finals? Because I know broadcasting, you couldn't even hear yourself think.
Yeah, I know it was super special. I've never really been part of anything like that up until that point. Mm-hmm. So the experience for me playing in front of all those fans is crazy. You get some instant feedback, and gotta love that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, awesome, very cool. Just also got to ask you, what's it like playing for the Flin Flon Bombers? Because I talked to Mike quite a bit actually when the Hounds. We were just up there, watched your last game, and so we had that experience. What a game that was! Very entertaining. But I got to ask you, what's it like playing up there with so many road trips and so much time in the hotels on the road, staying in Regina and playing here and there? How have you enjoyed that so far? Over 100 years you've been on the Flin Flon Bombers.
Yeah, no, it's been good. Lots of travel for sure, but time on the bus, no service. Guys are not on their phones, so lots of bonding time, playing cards and whatnot, just joking around. So, been good.
I guess finally, Jaden, you guys are coming off a 2-0 win over the Notre Dame Hounds, but you guys are back at it once again at home this weekend against the Melville Millionaires for 2 games. I mean, what are you looking forward to with those 2 games against Melville, and what are you going to have to do to be successful this weekend?
Yeah, obviously for us it's our parents' weekend, so I want to put on a good show for our moms and dads and hopefully get 2 wins here. I think in order to do that, we're going to have to stay disciplined, play our style of hockey, and play with lots of energy.
For sure. Jaden, last one for me. Thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome to cover you over the years. Just give us a little bit of inside scoop. Your buddy, your teammate, your line mate, Jacob Vockler, just committing to Merrimack, and we're going to hope to have him on as well at some point to talk about his commitment. But just give the people out there the down low, the scoop on Jacob Vockler, what he brings, and how happy you and the boys in the room are for him.
Yeah, huge congrats to Vox. Great player, love playing with the guy. I think he's a player that brings a lot of intensity. He thinks the game kind of the same way I do. He's a very smart player, super skilled, and kind of does it all. 200-foot player. I think Merrimack got a really good pickup in him.
Well, and Lindenwood University got a great pickup in you as well. Jaden, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And once again, congratulations on your commitment to Lindenwood University.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right, that is Flin Flon Bombers forward and recent Direct West commit to Lindenwood University, Jaeden Mercier. A great chat with Jaden. And after the break, we will dive into this week's edition of Players of the Week. Spoiler, it was a tough one. It was a tough week for Players of the Week, just in deciding who was going to win the awards. But we will announce the Players of the Week right after the break. This is SJHL Weekly across all of the SJHL social media platforms.
Get red and ready with Case IH and Young's equipment. From Case IH combines to MacDon headers, Young's carries all the best in new or pre-owned harvest equipment. With field-ready, industry-leading equipment and highly dedicated service staff, we're here when you need us most. Come experience our award-winning service for yourself and visit youngs.ca to find your nearest Young's equipment location.
You wouldn't take the ice without protective wear. So why would you take to the job site that way? The SCSA is proud to partner with the SJHL.
Make way for the first ever Chevrolet Silverado ZR2. With Multimatic shocks, rugged 33-inch tires, and front and rear electronic locking differentials.
Dude, this is awesome, but we should get back to work. This good? Perfect.
If you're gonna work remote, work remote. Find new workspaces. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year.
Capital Auto Mall is a proud partner of the SJHL, supporting the rich traditions and proud future of junior hockey in Saskatchewan. Capital Auto Mall, on the corner of Rochdale and Pasqua in Regina.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across all of the SJHL social media platforms. My name's Jeromy Corrigan, and thank you so much for joining us as always every Monday. And a big shout out once again to all of our sponsors who help make this show and all of our other shows possible, that being Chevrolet, Capital Auto Mall, Great Western, Cantera Seeds, RBC, SaskTel, Direct West, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Tourism Saskatchewan, and Young's Equipment. As always, of course, I am joined by Jamie Neugebauer and Rory Mcgouran. And guys, what a great chat with Jaeden Mercier. Like, an unbelievable kid, very humble, and obviously, very well-deserving of a Division I commit.
I think we could see it coming for the last few years, right, Nugsy? We knew Jaeden Mercier was destined for NCAA Division I, the way he plays for the Flin Flon Bombers, one of the most talented and electric players in the SJHL. I know he was my pick prior to the season to lead the SJHL in points. I think he's about 3 points off that pace, still trailing Cade Runke there at the Estevan Bruins. But, yeah, he's one of the top players in the league and one of my favorites to watch night in, night out for the Bombers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we've talked at length about the quality of goaltending in this league, but Jaeden consistently, on that half wall, he pulls it just a little toey, and then snipe top corner on like everybody. So like he's a real problem, and he puts the type of pressure on D-men, Jeremy, that no D-men enjoy. And we talked about that Bell Southgate Dole line. You know, Vockler coming back from the North American League.
Yeah.
You put them with Cole Dupereau and Mr. Mercier. That is as difficult a line to handle as the SJHL as well. So Flin Flon's off to a pretty good start this year, I'd say.
Yeah, a pair of... Go ahead, Rory.
Oh, sorry, Jeremy. I was just going to say, Nugsy, I saw you tweet out the other day about, you know, line matching and whatnot. Well, how about Lindenwood and what they're getting with the SJHL? I think you set it up on a power play with Mercier up to Drew Kuzma, Ethan Zilke in the bumper. But there was a fourth one too, wasn't there, that I'm forgetting?
Elliot Dutiel.
There you go. Yeah.
He's no longer, of course, in the SJ. He's on Brooks, but you know, he played for the Notre Dame Hounds last year. Yeah. If you weren't aware, 37 goals, pretty good.
But a pair of Direct West commitments this week, two NCAA Division I commitments for the Flin Flon Bombers. We obviously just talked about with Jaeden Mercier, but of course, let's touch on Jacob Vockler as well. Well-deserving. Obviously, a big impact and a big return for him coming back from the North American League, Jamie, just like you kind of mentioned. But ever since he's been back, he has been outstanding for the Flin Flon Bombers early on this season. Yeah,
whenever you can plug and play your first-line center, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome.
And have that chemistry. You know, I think speaking to Mike Reagan about, trying to get, Jaeden Mercier going this year offensively on a consistent basis. You know, having a guy like Jacob Vockler who can skate with him and play with him and have that, interchange of great skill that those guys have. You know, Cole Dupereau is a great player in his own right, but he does it a little bit differently. He's a little bit north-south. He's a little bit more, from the blue paint. He's a little bit more, defense and all that kind of thing. So, Vockler and Mercier, you heard Jaden say it, Jeremy, think about on the very similar light wavelength. And boy, oh boy, is that a line that nobody wants to face. Vockler, Dupereau, Mercier for Flin Flon up there at the Whitney, and the fans are going bananas. Ooh, rough.
Yeah, it is rough. You mentioned, obviously, the one line for Battleford being the number one line in the league. I think they're definitely a close second. I guess, Rory, I mean, your thoughts on Vockler's commitment as well to Merrimack College.
Merrimack's, an unbelievable achievement for Jacob Vockler for sure, and everyone in the Flin Flon Bomber organization. They seem to churn out about one or two of these every year, so I love seeing it. And we saw the impact that Vockler has to the Flin Flon Bombers as soon as he came back into the SJHL. He had points in his first 5 games. He's got 8 points in 7, but the thing that jumped out to me last year about Vockler is he's one of the best penalty killers in the league.
Right.
He's a guy that does it all. So an invaluable asset to get back for the Flin Flon Bombers. Huge piece. And Jamie mentioned it. He completes that top line and makes him one of the most deadliest lines in the SJHL.
And we mentioned it when Vockler returned. Anytime any team in the SJHL can add essentially a top 6 forward for free, I mean, it's going to help them immensely. But obviously, congratulations to both Mercier and Vockler on their commitments. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a few more coming from the Flin Flon Bombers later on this season. But it is now time to get to our Players of the Week announcement. I kind of mentioned it. It was a tough week when it comes to deciding on the Players of the Week this week, as it is always each week in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. So we will get started with the SGEU Player of the Week. And we ended up deciding and going with Ryan Duguay of the Melfort Mustangs. His first 2 games as a Melfort Mustang, he had 2 goals and 3 assists. And as I was writing the article this morning, he was involved in every goal with the Melfort Mustangs this weekend, except for the empty netter Friday night against the Estevan Bruins. So very well deserved.
Yeah, well deserved. And, Trevor Blevins plays to win all the time. No, hey, Ryan, come in, no special teams for you. We'll just let you settle in, get a few practices, blah, blah, blah. No, it's straight onto the power play. It's straight into big minutes. It's straight into key situations. And, Duguay given that trust and rewards it right away with he was part of power play goals. All the goals in the second game were on the power play for Melfort. So they were 3 for 9 with a man advantage. Duguay was a part of a nice looking power play there for Melfort right away. Big strong guy, 6'2", protects the puck well. You saw him yourself in person, Jeremy, and didn't really work out this year for him in the Alberta Junior League in Drumheller. Right. And working so far for him in Melfort, small sample size.
Yeah, very small sample size, but Jamie, or Rory rather, sorry, you can hop in here. What do you think, I guess, early on of Duguay's play for the Melfort Mustangs?
I just think sometimes people need a change of scenery, right? And maybe if it's not working with Drumheller, it comes to Melfort, and it's just, it's a reset button, right? And Ryan Duguay, he's a welcome addition for the Melfort Mustangs, who only have 4 forwards above 5 points so far. So they're going to need more scoring. And this guy comes in, as you mentioned, he had a touch on every single goal they scored this weekend. So, I'm sure the fans are smiling up in Melfort, but sometimes you just need a change of pace sometimes. And I hope it works out really good. It looks like it is a great acquisition for Ryan Duguay. Yeah,
like you guys mentioned, an early sample size, but so far so good. And congratulations to Ryan for being named SGU Player of the Week. Now, moving on to SaskTel Goalie of the Week. And, there was a couple of goaltenders this week, guys, that, had shutouts. But one goaltender who definitely was, and I don't think it was close, the busiest goaltender was Cody Jamin of the Kindersley Clippers, who is SaskTel Goalie of the Week. A 2.5 goals against average, a .945 save percentage, but he faced 91 shots in 2 games, making 86 saves. Rory, you saw him on Friday. How good was he for the Kindersley Clippers?
Yeah, he was integral. Faced 44 of those 91 shots against the Humboldt Broncos, which is what you expect when you go up against the Broncos, right? They're the highest shooting team in the SJHL. But then he wasn't any lackluster of pucks coming towards him against the Yorkton Terriers the next day. Doesn't go with Logan Falk, sticks with Jamin in net back-to-back nights, and then faces, another 45 shots against the Yorkton Terriers. Cody Jamin was unbelievable against Humboldt, and then he's kept his team in it up until the third period against Yorkton, and then the offense took over the job, scored 4 more goals in the third, and 2 big wins for the Clippers. Jamin was a rock star in net for both games.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, too, is Jamin was also in net for that game against the Melfort Mustangs as well. And obviously for Ken Plaquin and company, you mentioned it, Rory, he went back to him on Saturday against Yorkton. I think it's just a case of you go with the hot hand that, one helped win the game against Humboldt.
Yeah, I think we can surmise from the outside that Ken Plaquin wasn't thrilled with his goaltending situation early in the year.
Sure.
No offense to anybody, obviously, in particular, but he's turned it over completely, and kudos, because it seems like Jamin and Falk are a very nice 1-2 combo. You mentioned it, Melfort or Kindersley got that game, that huge win at home against the Melfort Mustangs, 7-4, and the Kindersley Clippers also ending October on their own long homestand.
Right.
So that is also a factor. They haven't played too many games at the West Central Events Center this year, so I think that's going to help anybody. But Cody Jamin also more goals this year than a lot of players in the SJHL, as does Caleb Allen of the Yorkton Terriers. So he's a goal scorer too, folks.
He is. He's. You caught me off guard with that one, Jimmy. That's good. Yes, that's right. And it was that Melfort game that he got credited for that empty net goal. But a big congratulations to Cody Jamin. Definitely well deserving of SaskTel Goalie of the Week. All right, moving on to Direct West Rookie of the Week. It might have not been a good week for the Yorkton Terriers, losing all 3 games on the road, but Dylan Ruptash had a pretty solid week. He had 2 goals and an assist, and he is Direct West Rookie of the Week. And I think the biggest thing with Ruptash, too, is we touched on it earlier when we were talking about Yorkton, is they're getting younger players to contribute offensively, and Ruptash is second in team scoring.
Yeah, he's been outstanding. The second he put on a Yorkton jersey in training camp, he was outstanding. In exhibition, he was outstanding. It took him a little while to find the back of the net in the regular season. It took him 5 games to score his first goal, but he's been, doing his thing since then. And I think he's realizing that, it's versus U18 in Alberta, right? You're going to have a lot less time and space to make a little fancy move, this and that. A lot of his goals are we're going to the right place. If someone makes a nice pass, don't waste any time, bear down, finish it hard. And that's what he's doing. He's very, very smart. Somebody with the Yorkton Terriers in the preseason I talked to compared his offensive instincts to Chance Petruic's, which is a huge thing to say.
It is, yeah.
And they don't throw that around in Yorkton too much. No. Obviously, there are lots of other elements to Chance Petruic's game, but, Ruptash, it certainly seems like, how did he end up there? And it's in the back of the net. And, got to be impressed by that type of offensive ability.
Rory?
Yeah, it's part of that, SSAC Athletics U18 program there in Alberta, but a good find for Matt Hare for sure. And as Jamie mentioned it earlier in the show, we were doing our recap, he's going to be leaned on a lot on the top line for the Yorkton Terriers. He's one of the young players that they're going to need to try to get offense out on a consistent basis to be successful. So good week for him. And one to keep an eye out for sure, 2004 birth year. So a couple of years left of eligibility here in the SJHL. And they're going to lean on him. They need him to produce for the Yorkton Terriers to be successful.
Yeah, he's already producing for them, and you can expect, for the rest of the year, he's going to be a big contributor for them down the stretch as they compete for a Viterra Division title. So congratulations to Dylan on being Direct West Rookie of the Week. And then finally, Defenseman of the Week. And once again, we had another good week of offensive production from defensemen this week, but we ended up going with Jordan Grill of the Battleford North Stars. 4 assists, including a 3-assist game against the Yorkton Terriers. I do believe it was on Thursday night in the 9-3 game. But, it's interesting, Rory. We talk about the Battleford North Stars. We talk about how, deep their lineup is from the net, from the blue line to the forward. It seems like we're talking about a different player each and every week when it comes to the Battleford North Stars and their amazing start to the season.
Great segue, Jeremy. That's why you're a pro, and that's exactly what I was going to talk about. It seems like I don't think we've had a week of Player of the Weeks where Battleford's North Star hasn't been on it. You know what? That's to no one's fault but the Battleford's North Stars because of how well they're playing. And you're right, it hasn't been the same player every week. We had Jake Southgate one week, Tynan Ewert, Josh Kotai, now Jordan Grill. They could just do it in any way. 13 wins, haven't lost in regulation, number 1 ranked team in the country. I expect this trend to continue throughout the whole season with at least 1 out of the 4 being on the Battleford's North Stars.
Yeah, hey, gotta send a big time shout out to Wiley Riendo, the director of scouting out there in Battlefords. Yeah. There are other very good ones in this league, but there's nobody better, than Wiley up in Battlefords. And here's a stat for you. 4 D-men in the top 5 D-men in league scoring for Battlefords. There's a big tie for third with 11 points. So that's a big list. It's not like Battlefords. But, there's 4 of them in that, big tie out there. So, the depth is huge as we talked about it. And the last thing I'll say is Rory and I, we talk about it all the time. We love when the local boys are doing well. And Jordan Grill is a local boy up there to Battlefords, and they've done a great job bringing kids through that Battleford Stars program. And Braden Klamosko giving guys opportunity. So, he's loved Jordan Grill since he's been a Battleford North Star, has Braden Klamosko, and for good reason, he continues to prove it.
Well, it puts butts in the seats too.
It does.
What it does, right? When you have that hometown boy, Jake Southgate, Jordan Grill on the lineup, it doesn't hurt that they're all stars in the league as well.
No.
But yeah, it's that's why you're seeing the attendance with Battlefords is right up there at the top of the league. Humboldt, you have Noah Barlagi and McLaren Paulson, their attendance right at the top of the league. So I love seeing the home cooking with these players that you can keep in your system, and then when they're ready, get them in and get them playing.
And I guess finally, just to build off Defenseman of the Week, I mean, you touched on it there just a little bit, Jamie, when it comes to defensemen scoring in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. I know myself and Clark had talked about it a little bit on SJHL Insider last week, but the defenseman scoring is there's such a logjam, and I think it just speaks to the talent level of how many good defensemen we have in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, because it seems like each and every week when you look at that top 10 scoring when it comes to defensemen in the SJHL, you're seeing different names in and out, and that's great for obviously the league, but also great for development of all the players and all the defensemen in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League.
Yeah, you nailed it on the head. I mean, the list of premium defensemen in this league is long. It's I think it's longer than in previous years. Even this year, it's really off the charts. And there's lots we could have even mentioned for defenseman of the week this week. I mean, it was just another insane, weekend for Jared Sitch for the Notre Dame Hounds as well. Tynan Ewart even was great for Battlefords. Could have been him. Could have been down, a big list. Guy like Tyson Perkins in Yorkton, he's not going to get big points, but he's, on the ice all the time. He's so invaluable for that Yorkton Terriers team. So, there's a lot of guys out there, and Jordan Grill's just another one.
For sure. Rory, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, you just love seeing the style of play that the coaches are bringing to the table, which allows these defensemen to not only protect their own zone, but they know when to jump in the rush. And you're just seeing so much offense from the blue line that it's always exciting to watch that style of play. And I love it. Whether it's Tynan Ewart, like Nugie mentioned, Alex Blanchard off of Estevan, Dalen Weigel off Humboldt, or whoever Melfort has, all of them can do it. So yeah, well, no, I know. I didn't want to single out one because Melfort has a plethora of D-men that can jump into the rush and provide offense. But yeah, no, I just love it. It just makes it for entertaining hockey when you have that, that kind of hybrid player that can do that.
Yeah, it seems like every team in the SJHL almost has like one or two guys that love hopping in the rush and are producing points. But just to recap, players of the week. SGU player of the week is Ryan Duguay of the Melfort Mustangs with 2 goals and 3 assists. SaskTel goalie of the week is Cody Jamin of the Kindersley Clippers, a 2.5 goals against average, a .945 save percentage. Direct West rookie of the week is Dylan Ruptash of the Yorkton Terriers with 2 goals and an assist. And defenseman of the week is Jordan Grill of the Battleford North Stars with 4 assists. Finally, last week we didn't have much to talk about when it comes to games in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League during the week. This week is a whole lot different. We have 2 games on tap tomorrow, so let's take a look at them. The Estevan Bruins looking to snap a 3-game losing skid, which actually started against these Battleford North Stars as they are back at the ACC for a matchup with the Stars at 7:30 tomorrow night. And the Melville Millionaires will be up in Larange to take on the Ice Wolves at 7:30. And that also kicks off 2 games between Melville and Larange this week. As we move into Wednesday, the Humboldt Broncos are back in action as they visit the Yorkton Terriers. Yorkton looking to snap a 4-game losing skid, and then the Kindersley Clippers will play host to the Estevan Bruins. There's that second game between Melville and Larange that I had mentioned, and the Weyburn Red Wings will pay a visit to the Northern Lights Palace to visit the Melfort Mustangs. Rory, when we show those 2 days of games, I guess what kind of stands out to you?
It's a little bit of a lighter weekend set because of how many great games we got throughout the week. That wasn't the case last week, right? But it's a big week here for the Battlefords North Stars, and I know that they're the first place team in the SJHL. They're unbeaten, but they got a tough test against Estevan, and then we all know on the weekend it's the top 2 teams in the league, Battlefords and Humboldt, for the first time in the season. So can Battlefords keep that unbeaten record in 3 really tough games? That's what I'm looking to see.
Newsy?
Yeah, I'm looking to see the Kindersley Clippers. Are they for real? Can they keep it going? They have Estevan in town too. So, good to see the Clippers do that. Interesting to see Logan Cox jump right in and play a big role for them. Can their goaltending keep up this pace? They've been not bad, as I said, all year long. It should be, very interesting. It's very interesting to see how the Mills do. Up in Larange, getting Nick Andrusiak back from the Portland Winterhawks is a big add for them on the back end. Aiden Robson is back too, so they've got some heavier guys now back on the back end there for Melville, and I would not count them out. Even though Larange is red hot right now, that's going to be very interesting up there.
I was actually going to mention the flip side of that is Larange Ice Wolves continuing, obviously, their lengthy stint at home, 2 games against the Melville Millionaires, and if they can build off that win against the Notre Dame Hounds and potentially pick up 2 wins against the Melville Millionaires this week. Guys, we're looking at a different team at the top of the Sherwood division.
Yeah, you know what? They just find a way. Like Larange, they first of all, they got incredible goaltending.
Right.
Dawson Smith, Topher Chirico, both as good as it gets right now in the league. But they just have lots of guts. They got big hearts. They're dealing with a few injuries. But Rory mentioned him last week, Riley Morgan. The overtime winner for Larange, it was just Riley Morgan skating by the Notre Dame Hounds, basically, and went in on Ashton Billsberger and beat him. That was the goal. That's how fast Riley Morgan is. I don't know if the Hounds were aware about how fast that guy was, because he was like, and he was gone. But you know what? They have pieces up there in Larange. Liam McInnes is back. That's such a huge piece on the blue line for Larange too. So, man, especially in their barn, they are not easy for anybody.
No, for sure. And then obviously also, I guess, a big one for Melford and Weyburn. I think that one's very intriguing as well because you have a Melford Mustangs team coming off of 2 wins against the Estevan Bruins, Rory, and you have a Weyburn Red Wings team that obviously they were able to bounce back and get that 7-5 win against the Melville Millionaires on Saturday on home ice, but now they try to continue that on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Melford's figured it out now, and a great acquisition. We already talked about him, Ryan Duguay. But for the Weyburn Red Wings, they got 2 big games. Melford, and then later on is against the Nipawin Hawks. These are teams that you're jockeying in position with when you look at the standings and how many teams are 2 points or no points, as Nugsy said, about 4 or 5 teams there, all tied with 12. And Weyburn going to try to keep pace with that. We got a lot of interesting ones. Is Estevan and Kindersley.
Yeah.
You know, Kindersley picked up those 4 points, so they're trying to stay in there. Yorkton trying to stay in there, but they've lost 4 in a row. That's the reason they are in that mix. Notre Dame, picked up a single point. So it's all kind of happening from all angles. But Weyburn has 2 big games. You mentioned Melford and then Nipawin this weekend.
I guess final thing we're going to touch on before we wrap up this edition of SJHL Weekly. We come together each and every week to produce the SJHL Power Rankings, and I just want to get your guys' thoughts on this week's Power Rankings without revealing anything, but just how difficult it was this week to produce the Power Rankings because of, that log jam in the SJHL standings, how teams performed this past week, everything like that. Rory, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think, is it fair to say, and you guys can agree or disagree, we talked about it before, after 10, 15 games, we're going to see the league start to go in tiers.
Sure.
I really think there's only 2 right now. I think you got Battlefords, Humboldt, and Flin Flon. L'Orange is really close to breaking into that top tier.
Right.
But then it's like everyone else. It's really hard to decipher. So if you're making power rankings, put the names in a hat and a cup and roll the dice out and then put them there because it's so tight and I love to see it.
Yeah, we got to 5, I think, on the board here. And then after 5, we're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Now I have a headache. But yeah, no, it's cool. But hey, it's what you want, right? We've talked about it a lot. We don't want to know who the champion is too early. We want a race. We don't want the playoff seedings to be known too early. We want lots of races, and it's good for fan bases. It's good for selling tickets. It's good for interest in hockey TV. I know I'm gonna get my popcorn, maybe a beverage, and sit down and watch those Humboldt Battlefords games this weekend. It's gonna be an absolute blast to watch those 2 teams go at it and see what Braden Klamosko and Scott Barney have for each other, little wrinkles and tactics and stuff. But it's what you want.
And power rankings are just that. They're power rankings. They're not a look at the standings. They are just power rankings. And at the end of the day, they create a discussion, just like we're having now, and a discussion amongst fans. So you can agree with them. You can disagree with them. But regardless, you can find them on SJHL.ca tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. That's going to do it for this episode of SJHL Weekly. Before we go, once again, we got to thank all of our great sponsors that help us put on this show each and every week. Chevrolet, Capital Auto Mall, Great Western, Cantera Seeds, RBC SaskTel, SGEU, Direct West, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Tourism Saskatchewan, Young's Equipment. Thank you all so much for your support, and it helps us obviously being able to put on our show each and every week, and also SJHL Insiders each and every week. A big shout out to Jaeden Mercier for coming on the show today. We really appreciate Jaden coming on. Of course, he's the latest Lindenwood University commit, a Direct West commitment. But be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where you can find all of our shows on demand at both SJHL Weekly, SJHL Insider, and all the other great features that we produce for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. For Rory Mcgouran, geez, I've been talking too much here, guys. Jamie Neugebauer, my name is Jeromy Corrigan, and this has been another great edition of SJHL Weekly.